Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to episode 9 of the GameBeast Podcast, where three, sometimes more, still not yet, friends get together every week to talk about the latest in gaming news. So, how are we both? Kyle, you good?
Yeah, doing good. Um,
Good.
Recovered from the Rona, so I think I'm
The
doing alright.
Rona, yeah.
Yeah.
But you, Parky, you right?
Yeah, I'm alright.
You're so enthusiastic.
We all know why. We all
Yeah,
know why.
just getting. Well, we'll get onto that in a sec. Uh, yeah, I'm good. I'm pretty sure I had coronavirus last week, but I was just exhausted all week. But I just kept testing negative, so I don't know. I guess not. But yeah, well. But had a little news section in at the beginning, just to you know flesh our character, our lore out. Just want to know what you've been doing over the past week, because to be honest, I have no idea what you've been doing over the past week. So come on, Kyle, tell me what you've been doing.
Booked a holiday.
Excellent.
Yep.
Anywhere nice?
Disney and Universal.
Ooh,
Going to
ooh, American
the
Disney.
Americas, hopefully.
Very
Fingers
nice.
crossed, as long as they get the whole airport situation sorted by
Yeah,
later this year.
yeah, we'll see. There's no staff.
I'll fly it myself. I've played enough flight simulator. I'm sure I know what I'm doing.
A guy I work with went to Bulgaria about a week ago. In the run up to it, he caught COVID and then tested negative the day before he was supposed to fly. So he went on holiday. He waited 4 hours in the security queue to get onto the plane to Bulgaria,
Yep.
and then caught COVID again in Bulgaria. Tested negative
Wow.
the day before he was due to fly back, and then waited 2 hours in the security queue to get back into England. So have fun.
Nice. Yeah, I will do.
Yeah. What about you, Park? You been doing much?
No, not really, man. Work.
Oh, I've had tea delivered to me. Hang on, sorry to interrupt. Thank you very much.
That's fine. So
Okay, continue.
Work.
Mm.
No, I went on a couple of dates with my girlfriend. She's
Very nice.
had some fun. Had some
Good.
fun with that.
Oh, we'll leave it at that, shall we?
Mm.
I haven't been doing much work. I've barely been able to play any games since, I don't know, Saturday. The christening on Sunday. I'm a godparent again.
congratulations again.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
I'm just really relying on my cousin not dropping dead now, else I'll end up with 2 more kids. Um, Work, badminton matches. I've had 2 this week. I'm exhausted. I'm sore. But we won. We absolutely destroyed them. Yeah, it's been all right. Just not a lot of games for me, unfortunately. So,
Tis the way.
speaking of which, yeah, tis the way. Speaking of which, Kyle, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing High School Musical 2 for the Nintendo Wii.
What?
And Guitar Hero for the Nintendo DS. No,
Wait.
I've been playing Elden
High
Ring.
School Musical is a beautiful game, man.
It is, yeah. No, I've just been playing Elden Ring still. I haven't really had much time
Yeah,
to
fair.
sort of progress, and I feel like I don't want to rush through if you can call it a story, the main
Yeah, I
sort
know
of
what you mean.
boss line.
Yeah.
So I'm doing all the exploring bits, but yeah.
I feel like I've explored a lot, and yet I'm watching like videos on YouTube of like things I watch, and they're coming across shit that I've just missed completely. I've completely missed like patches, and I've completely missed entire NPC quest lines. Even though I've interacted with them at first, I have not found their second location. I'm like, what the hell? How? How? I've looked everywhere. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back. I think. Oh, I'm not bothered about that. I'm actually quite looking forward to it. But before I go into that, Parky, what you been doing? Well, I know what you've been doing. It's the reason you were a miserable bastard. But go on, tell us.
Well, I've just got to the capital. Like,
Well,
thinking,
you
oh
haven't, have
yeah, hi, I'm out.
you?
This is easy. And then Yeah, met the draconic tree sentinel guy.
Yeah.
Get him down to like almost quarter his health, and he just goes, "You know what? I've had enough." Here's an undodgeable attack, and one shots me every time.
Yeah, he was pretty tough. I definitely think that it's not really a spoiler to say, is it? I guess when you get to the capital, there is a difficulty spike. It's much harder in the capital, and then it's much harder when you get to the mountain afterwards. But I won't say any more than that.
I just want to go there to get the dung eaten, man. I don't care about the rest of it.
I've avoided the that area. I've got the key to get in, but I've avoided it so far because I hear it's like the worst part of the game, both in level design and frustration. And I'm the same as both of you. I've been playing Elden Ring when I've had the chance all week. Still, it's awesome. It's great. Level about 109 now, I think. 50 hours in or something. Just reached the Mountain of the Giants. It's ridiculously hard now. I'm really struggling with. It's worked for me all up until this point. I don't have a shield. I've got a staff in my left hand and a sword in my right hand, the Knight in Flame sword, obviously, and a battle mage essentially. It's been great. I've been dodge rolling all the way through the game. It's worked fine, but now because I've only got 20 vigor, because everything else has gone on intelligence, I get one shot
Yep.
by everything, even the birds. There's these little birds on the mountain. I shit you not, they look less intimidating than the birds in Stormvale Castle. But my god, they are bastards. Oh,
The birds?
they're
Like
just
the
they're just
birds?
birds. Yeah, they're just birds.
They are.
There's nothing like grotesque about them. If anything, if you look, if they were like on the vista and you were just staring at them in the sunset, you'd be like, yeah, that's a pretty nice looking bird. But they come at you. They come at you and they peck you.
Just remember, one of the most lethal enemies in the game is the dog.
Yeah. Isn't it something like 15 million damage per DPS or something ridiculous for the
Something like
dog?
that, when it gets in a certain attack animation.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not stuck. I'm just definitely hit a difficulty spike. So I might go back and explore a bit more just to tie up some things I've missed and do some quest lines. And I crawled across some lava to get to Alexander the jar dude. That was fun. I realised that if you are wondering how the hell to get to him, the horse is almost entirely resistant to lava. So that was easier than trying to sprint across and then die. Yeah.
I mean, if it helps when you get to the capital, if you're like me, and I assume most people, you'll probably find the exit to the capital before you find the boss. That's how ridiculous the whole location works.
Yeah, I did. I also found, because before I got to where Parky's stuck, I found the lift that goes up to the capital, but obviously if you go there first, the lift isn't there.
Yep.
The only way to access that lift is by going down it. So I did find the down lift, which was completely useless to me at that point.
Oh yeah.
That was a little bit weird.
Well, my first taste of the capital was the big giant who one-shot me pretty much as well.
Yeah, there's three giants, two archers, and one with an axe, isn't there, or something? And
Yeah.
for some reason, as with all the other giants, the two archers don't respawn, but the axe one does. Not really sure why.
Creepy.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, let's move on. So, is there anything we're looking forward to other than more Elden Ring? I guess I suppose Park is looking forward to get to the capital. Anything you're looking forward to, Kyle?
No, not anything that I haven't touched upon last week.
No, fair enough. What about you, Parky?
Nothing new. Just the Harry Potter game, obviously. Still waiting to hear more about that.
I think we're entering kind of like a dry spell, really, because we've been so spoiled at the first few months of this year. I suppose we're just going to be playing catch up for the next couple of months. So I still want to get to Ghostwire. I still want to get to Stranger of Paradise. We don't know what's happening with Final Fantasy 16, whether it's the rumored release date of this year is true or whether it's going to be next year. I don't know. Harry Potter, yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, I think it's. Oh, what was the other game? Chrono Cross came out today. I think.
Potentially.
That looks pretty good. I was actually quite looking forward to that. So that's added to the list of catch up.
The never-ending list of games that you want to play but will never secretly get round to.
Yeah. Oh, I'll get around. Yeah, it came out today. Yeah, it's going on the list. I do have an actual list, and I'm working through it. But Ghostwire's next for me, at least. So anyway, before we kick off the news, I want to start off with a correction because I think it's important. So a correction for last week. Me, I spoke briefly about a journalist boycotting the Hogwarts Legacy game, who, in my opinion, was a hypocrite when considering his employer is owned by Tencent. I mentioned that GameBite was that employer, but it was in fact Fanbyte, and the journalist in question was Imran Khan. And I just wanted to correct that because, like I say, I think it's important to get it right, especially when I'm saying someone's a hypocrite and when I'm saying someone's owned by Tencent. Anyway, we'll move on to the news. And this first piece, I'm particularly excited to talk about because this whole abandoned, a cryptic mystery has been going on for a while now, since last August and before. So, apparently Abandoned hasn't been abandoned. Blue Box Studio, following even more shady behaviour, with the deletion of tweets and the revelation that their registered office doesn't even seem to exist, has released a statement confirming that Project Abandoned is still under development. Since the announcement of the project, the game has been surrounded in mystery, controversy, and suspicion. So, let's assess what we know so far, starting off with their recent statement and followed up by their history, and then onto the developer's recent interview with Colin Moriarty. So, they released a statement. I'll read it through very quickly. Quote, "Dear community, recently we've been bombarded with requests and questions regarding the development status for Abandoned. In regards to the latest rumours regarding Abandoned being cancelled, our response to this is that these rumours are false. We're working on the reveal via the real-time experience app and online channels, along with the prologue of the game. These were initially planned for Q1 2022, which is a lie. That's not part of the quote. But unfortunately, we aren't ready yet, as we underestimated our development roadmap. Therefore, we have delayed the reveal and the release for Abandoned Prologue. We will release Abandoned Prologue, notice the change in name, Prologue, when it's stable, good, and ready. We are aware of your frustration and deeply, sincerely apologise for this. We will continue to work on the game and will notify you when we are ready. Our sincere apologies, Blue Box Game Studios." End quote. There's a couple of interesting things there, i.e. scheduled release Q1 for 2022. No, it wasn't. It was supposed to be released in August, because I talked about the real-time app. It was supposed to be released in August last year, and they released a 5-second trailer and then didn't do anything else. And the Abandoned Prologue name is the first I've paid attention to this, and it's the first time I've noticed them actually mention Prologue. And we'll get onto it a bit later, but it seems that the Prologue and the main game, completely separate things. Kind of like, do you remember with Resident Evil 7, they had the lost tapes, and you kind of played as that journalist dude?
Yes.
Not as the main character Resident Evil 7. You play as some random guy. That's it. We'll get onto it later, but that's essentially what Abandoned Prologue is. You play as some other guy adjacent to the main story, and it's very short. I remember them saying Abandoned will be ready, not Abandoned Prologue. So very odd. What do we think of the statement before we move on to the history, and then before we actually dive into this? Do you think it's just a to save face, or do they actually mean what they say?
It's a cover-up story.
Kyle? It's a cover-up story. It's a conspiracy.
I mean, if you're developing a reasonable-sized game, maybe not AAA, but high up there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a AA game.
Yeah.
You should at least have a solid headquarters. I get, people working from home and stuff like that, but you'd still have a headquarters, and you'd still, have a staff that were contactable, and you wouldn't just erase all of your social media presence.
Well, the funny thing about a registered address is it doesn't necessarily have to be your address. So, for instance, if you had and this is specifically in the UK, but I think it's similar in America. If you own a company in the UK, if you operate from an office on, say, 123 Fake Street, but your accountant is in 456 Real Street, a registered office can be the accountant's address. That's perfectly legal. That's perfectly fine. The point here is that the address they've listed as their registered office doesn't exist, which is a bit weird. It's definitely an incorporated company. It exists. I've checked. I've had a look.
To stop all the fans running up and going,
yeah,
let us in, we know where you work.
We want to know. But I checked at work. It's a real company. So it baffles me a little bit how the address that they've got listed as their office address it's non-existent. What do you reckon, Parky? Weird statement. Was it necessary? Did they need to delete any tweets in the first place? I don't know.
They didn't need to, but obviously, I think they're just trying to make sure they cannot bury themselves into a hole any more than they've already
damage control and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a quick history here of Blue Box, and I think it just makes it look even worse, I'd say. Just there we go. Just turn on the light and destroying the whole room around me, but there we go. Right, so if we run through this history very, very quickly. In 2015, Blue Box announced a horror game called Rewind. And I won't read the whole thing, I'll just go through it. So, they announced it, they delayed it, said it'll have VR, it didn't, cancelled a Kickstarter, said the development was on halt, said they have a new project, that game was never released and was deleted. Again in 2015, announces a PC exclusive called The Lost Tape, said they'll stream gameplay soon, the game never came out, and deleted from the IndieDB website, which is like a website where indie devs gather and share their projects and try and gather an audience, by the way. Then 2 years later, 2017, announced a new horror game called The Whisperer. It was supposed to come out in June 2017. The game never came out. A year later, in 2018, announces a multiplayer horror game called Unseen Faces. The game never came out. Another year later, in 2019, releases a broken mobile app called The Tales of the Six Swords. They stole an anime character art and made it the app's icon, allegedly. That's not proven. Said an update is coming to the non-working app, remove the app from the store. And it was explained in the interview a little bit into that. And what it was is they released it publicly because the community they had wanted to act as beta testers. But they released it. In releasing it publicly, people who weren't witting to the fact that it was just released as a beta test for their community bought the game, thought, what the fuck's this? The assets that they were using as placeholders were other people's properties, but that wasn't the final art. And then the game was taken down because people were buying it that weren't part of the community and didn't realise it was supposed to be beta test. They just did it the wrong way, allegedly. So I'll just say that. 2020 releases a horrible horror game called The Haunting in early access. Game receives 100% negative reviews. They remove the buy option, says a big update's coming very soon, delays the update. The update was never released, and then they quit developing the game. They moved
At least they released this one.
Well, yeah, temporarily. They then shifted the development of the game to a company called Create Q Interactive. That company doesn't exist. It technically exists, but it's not a company. It's like a group. So he describes it in the interview with Colin Moriarty. It's a group of friends. It's not an official company. He has given this project to them, and then they'll finish developing it as a hobby, and then when it's finished, it'll be released on Steam for free, allegedly. Again, we have no idea because there's no proof, or other than the fact that Create Q Interactive is definitely not a real company. 2021 announces a new game called Abandoned. Said the PS5 real-time app will be available August 10th. Said they have technical issues and are working to resolve it ASAP. Delayed the supposed app indefinitely after simply releasing a 5-second trailer that was available on YouTube a couple of days prior. So, well, the history doesn't look good for them. There's a few suspicious things, and we'll touch on some of these later as well when we come to the interview notes. But like Hassan translates directly to Hideo in Google Translate. His PSN profile has trophies for games that don't exist. The blue box logo is an inverse of the PlayStation Studio logo. There's no game in the history of PlayStation that's received like an indie game that's received a blog post without actually having any gameplay to show, and no other studios ever produced a real-time app. What are your thoughts, Kyle? What do you reckon? I won't ask anymore. Just what are your thoughts on Blue Box, on Abandoned? What's going on?
Sounds like it's all a money laundering scheme.
I
To be honest about it, I mean, like you can give them so much leeway, but then when it's just sort of like it's one of those shops that you walk down the road, you look into it, and you think nobody's ever in there. How are they still going?
like American Golf down the road.
Yeah, there's something.
Which no one else will understand, but we know.
Yeah, we know. There's just something shady going on. Like, just have a bit of transparency and tell everybody, or it seems like it was a.
Yeah, tell everyone we're actually a money laundering company.
We're the mafia.
It's only a crime when people find out.
Yeah, no, I think it's at the point where they should probably just, as bad as it sounds, just give up. Like if you're trying to make something and then you cancel it and you try and make something else and you cancel it and you try and make something else and you cancel it. What's the point? I mean, you haven't made a game, you haven't come out with a game, you've created a game that was crap and then created another game that you then removed, but
yeah,
I mean, unless it's just some sort of testing platform for PlayStation, then
see, I don't think, judging from the answers that he gave, because I watched this interview from start to finish, and thankfully it came out on free feeds early, because it's usually behind a paywall, but because it's so interesting, they released it for free. And I was tempted to pay for it just so we can get the information for tonight. But I didn't have to, so thanks for that. I think Sony has very little to do with this. Very little, if no influence whatsoever. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, Parky, what do you reckon? What are your thoughts? Do you think this is crazy? Do you think it's just, I don't know, just some guy out of his depth, or?
Yeah,
we don't know the names of any of his colleagues at the studio. The only name we know is his, and that's Hassan Karaman.
I'm just happy you didn't have to pay to find out the information, otherwise that would have been more money in his pocket. But I feel for everybody who's like paid out monies just to try and get stuff. Some of these games that are obviously a bit worse for wear, if good at all.
Well, apparently people who bought the last game that was pulled from sale, if they provide evidence that they bought that game, then they get a free copy of Abandoned, and Hassan is apparently going to pay for that out of his own pocket, because obviously a Steam code won't translate into a PlayStation Store code. So, according to him, from his own mouth, he will pay for each person that comes to him with evidence that they bought the last game, and then buy them a copy of Abandoned. So,
Oh, cheers. Yeah.
How much money how many people bought the game first? And does this guy just have this expendable income?
Yeah, of course he does.
So
Just because of all the people that gave him all the money over the years.
yeah. All right. Let's move on to the interesting tidbits. So there's an interview on there's a YouTube channel called Last Stand Media. Very good. Highly recommend it. It's a highly knowledgeable group of presenters. There's an Xbox podcast, there's a PlayStation podcast, there's a retro style podcast, but I'm not all that interested in the retro side of stuff unless a random topic comes up like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'll watch that one. But they got a paywalled show called Sacred Symbols Plus. Colin Moriarty, ex IGN staff, ex Kind of Funny founder, had an interview with Hassan Karaman, and I believe it's the first on-camera interview. There was a brief interview with Bloomberg and Jason Schreier, but allegedly, according to Hassan, that trustful guy that he is, Jason Schreier didn't really display the facts accurately, but that's up for interpretation. So there's obviously a long list of notes here, as you'll probably see in the write-up. So they go through the interview. They talk about the cryptic SNL tweet. So I don't know if either of you saw this. There was a tweet and it was like Hangman. So it had an S and then spaces and then an N and then spaces and then an L. And naturally, people thought, holy shit, Silent Hill. But apparently no. It was mistaken for Silent Hill. And it actually meant survival in... or something. I don't know. I can't remember what it was supposed to say. But that's the point, because all anyone can remember is Silent Hill.
Yeah.
So they got off to a bad start. Yeah. The fact that Hassan translates to Hideo, Hassan says is just a coincidence. The real-time app was allegedly Blue Box's idea, not Sony's. Sony's not funding the game and is not involved in the development of Abandoned. Blue Box claim the PlayStation exclusivity is their choice because they're PlayStation fans. Quotes the SSD as the reason for making the real-time app because it can render the game in real time and produce a trailer from it. Which to me, what's the benefit of rendering it in real time just for the sake of it when you can just slap a trailer together and it looks exactly the same? I don't know. He addressed the accusations of asset flips in the trailer, said that only stock assets are used for the background trees for the announcement trailer and that they've since been replaced. They use it. Have you heard of metahumans? The like really high fidelity human models that I think it's part of Unreal Engine's suite of features. Have either of you ever heard of them?
Is that not just what Facebook users are called now?
Zing! Apparently they're using metahumans as the base models, but they are customizing them for their in-game characters. Herp Games, who apparently published the PSVR title Moss. Allegedly, they were in talks to bring out a physical version of Abandoned, but they withdrew their investment, which could go some ways to explaining all these constant delays, because if funding's pulled, then you're a bit stuffed. Abandoned Prologue, oh, hang on, I've skipped ahead a bit here, claims that they claim, Hassan claimed the outsourced artwork to Noir. That was a support studio that worked on Halo Infinite. But allegedly they've only got a budget of about $30,000, and they're enlisting the help of, you know, AAA support studios. It just doesn't sound right. Somehow, allegedly, they've managed to negotiate a custom license with Epic Games. Because if you use the Unreal Engine, typically you get $1 million grace period, so you earn $1 million from sales, and then after that point you split any revenue with Epic Games at a 5% split rate. So for every dollar you make, Epic Games get 5% after the $1 million grace period. But that's not the case for Blue Box because their negotiating power seems to have landed them a custom license, which he didn't go into the details of, probably because of he was under NDA, I guess. Prologue, not the full game. This is the interesting bit, and I want to know both of your thoughts on this. So we were promised the game Abandoned, and we were promised this real-time app in August last year, and we're supposed to see the end of it by the end of August, and we're supposed to have the game by now, as far as I understand. But Abandoned Prologue's not the full game. It's a 2-hour game that doesn't feature the main character, who he revealed is called Jason Longfield for the first time. You play as, quote, a random dude who has been kidnapped and abandoned alone. But not really alone, as there is a hidden community of people led by the eye patch guy that was mistaken for Big Boss. They tweeted out this picture of Abandoned, and it looked like Big Boss from Metal Gear Solid was blurred behind him. Turned out that it's just the antagonist for this game, and his name is Paul Longfield, who's the older brother of the main character of the main game. Hassan wrote the story himself, of course. What, Kyle? What do you think? Do you think we are? I should probably mention as well. He also revealed that the prologue sales will fund the main game. So we've gone from the main game being released 2021 or allegedly Q1 2022 to no, the prologue's now coming out, and the sales of the prologue will fund the development of the main game.
I mean,
what do you reckon?
It sounds like it's either A, Hideo Kojima's testing ground. I mean, he's like, oh, I've got all this money, yeah, I can refund people, but I don't want it associated with my name. Google Translate.
What does this? Hassan.
That's the one. Or it's probably some Saudi prince with too much money that thinks, oh, I'm going to make a game, and doesn't really know what he's doing, but can just pay his way through it.
God.
They're both viable answers. I mean,
they are.
with everything else that's so crazy about this place, it's kind of.
It wouldn't be the first time that Hideo Kojima has pretended to be someone else and made a fake game studio to release a game. Because he did it for Metal Gear. He did it for Silent Hills, which was cancelled. And obviously they named their demo PT, which turned out to be Silent Hill demo. He's twice before he's made completely fake studios, but this is just a different level. This is now we've seen Hassan speaking face to face, unless he's an incredibly talented actor, because I think it takes an extra talent to look.
So you're not saying I've cracked the code then? That's not what
you might have cracked. You may have cracked the code, but I don't want to say. I don't think he's incompetent. I think he's an indie dev that's out of his depth. Indie devs first time. I'm gonna say first time indie devs because all of the other games clearly did not come out retail properly. Yeah. He's a first time indie dev, and then he's all of a sudden had the eye of the world shone on him. So the crushing pressure of the marketing responsibility when you're just a dude with some colleagues in your indie dev studio, he's not handling any of this correctly. How we've gone from a full game release to a prologue that's going to fund the main game, I don't know. What do you reckon, Parky? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't fill you with confidence, does it? If it's he's relying on this to actually make money.
I don't even think the prologue existed before this point, because it sounds to me like, oh shit, the investment's gone. What do we do? Oh, I know. Let's cut out a 2-hour section of the game, take the main character out, replace it with, and I quote, a random dude, and we'll sell that to fund the rest of the development. But if this is funding the development for the main game, how far into the main game are they with development? Have they started? Are they near the end? Do they need to finish it off with more funding? I don't know. No one knows because he doesn't say. Do you think I'm right or am I crazy? Do you honestly believe, either of you, start with Parky, do you believe the prologue existed before this announcement?
I still don't think it exists now, to be fair.
What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, same. Totally agree.
I'm inclined to believe it exists, but I don't think it was always the prologue, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like cutting off a bit of the game and selling it as DLC, but in this case, they're doing the reverse and just selling it as a portion before the actual game comes out, maybe? I don't know, and I don't want to be too harsh, because listening to them in the interview, they've been through a lot of shit, which, admittedly, they've mainly brought on themselves. I don't think any of the death threats they've received is warranted at all. I think that's disgusting. And
Yeah, when it comes to like death threats and that, it's never warranted, no matter how bad it is. Like,
exactly, it's completely unacceptable. It's a game at the end of the day. It's a game that no one's even played. So why do people care so much? But to give them a hard time, all right, give them a hard time because they keep messing up with promises. Don't be violent and don't threaten them. That's completely unacceptable. So I am.
Essentially, then,
Go on.
it's an indie dev selling a demo. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, effectively. But what doesn't, I just don't understand how they've managed to negotiate this deal with Epic Games to get a custom license. I don't understand how they managed to negotiate with Sony to get a blog post. I don't understand how they've managed to negotiate with Sony to get this real-time experience. Because something would have had to go through QA testing to get on the platform. What do they have? What did they show Sony for Sony to go, yes, we'll have you as a PS exclusive. Yes, we'll advertise it in the blog post for you. You go and do your thing, finish it off, get it out to our customers.
I
What
think
did they
somebody's
show?
obviously in the background there pulling some strings.
Maybe.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is Hideo.
Maybe it's Hideo Kojima. Maybe it is. I don't know. I really don't. And don't want to say this guy's incompetent. Like I say, he's new.
I mean, do you want
If
me
it
to say
is
it
an
then?
actor, yeah, go for it.
You don't want to say he's incompetent.
Fair enough. If it is an actor, then it takes an incredibly skilled actor to act genuinely incompetent.
Maybe it's not an actor. Maybe he is genuinely him. It's just Hideo's come up behind him now and just backing him for something that he wants to get released. You know.
Maybe. I mean, there's
He's a
even weird
puppet,
shit
is what you're
like
saying.
yeah.
Goes there with
Yeah,
some
something
puppet
like
strings
that.
going and
Dance,
going,
monkey, dance. Huh?
Does Caraman translate to puppet? Hmm.
Either way,
Let's-
that's enough of
yeah,
abandon.
yeah, that's another. Well, no, wait. There's one more point. And then we'll move on. This the fake trophies. Do either of you hear about this at the time?
No, not me.
No.
No. Okay. So Hassan Karaman's public PSN profile had trophies on it for a game that didn't exist, which obviously perpetuated the mystery. And this was his way of explaining it. Allegedly, the images used for the trophy was just placeholder, so it wasn't the real image for the trophy. It's just something he found and slapped on the trophy ID for when it pings. And it's a game he made for his nephew on his PS5 dev kit, because obviously he's got one because he's making a PS5 game.
Yeah.
The game is still sat on the dev kit in development form. It's never been published, but obviously he's attached triggers to the game for trophies to pop. Now, normally, there's loads of games that get developed and cancelled, and you never see those trophies on anyone's profiles. But the point is, you're not supposed to log in on a dev kit with your personal details, and he did, and he let his nephew play on his personal details on the dev kit, and then his nephew popped the trophies. So these trophies for a game that doesn't exist now appear on his PSN profile. But the problem is, Colin, the guy interviewing him, he owns an indie dev studio, as well as this Last Stand Media company. And he admitted himself he's never tried to log into his dev kit with his personal details because that's the first thing that Sony tells you not to do. Like, don't log in the dev kit with your personal thing, your
Give
personal
him the
account.
ban hammer, Sony.
Because it's like, don't do it, because this shit might happen. So that's how he explained it away. But anyway, very interesting. Highly recommend going to watch it. Go over to Last Stand Media. They don't need my help to advertise. They're the biggest PlayStation podcast in the world. But it's fascinating to watch. It's an interesting interview.
Right?
Other than us,
Other than
yeah,
us,
we
yeah.
are definitely the biggest non-biased podcast in the world.
Or at least second.
The biggest random podcast, I would probably say.
We are the biggest podcast based in X and Y. Definitely wasn't going to reveal our location then without thinking. Please come and dox me. Anyway, let's move on. We've spent quite a lot of time on that, but it was fascinating, and I think this.
Quick
Yeah,
speed run the
anyway.
rest of the podcast.
So E3's cancelled. Holy shit! Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3 for short, will not be going ahead this year. The long-running trade show began in 1995 and became the biggest trade show in the industry, often playing host to some of the biggest announcements in our gaming history. In 2016, E3 opened its doors to the public for the first time, allowing us mere mortals to rub shoulders with the industry's elite. 2020 saw the first cancellation in this history due to the global pandemic. 2021 saw an online-only event, which garnered a mixed reception, and now, in 2022, we'll see a second cancellation with no online event planned, citing the pandemic once again. So, Parky, we'll start with you. How do you feel about E3, and how do you feel about the cancellation?
I used to like E3 back in the day, it used to be nice to stay up and watch. See what's coming out, get excited for stuff, but we know it was going to get cancelled again. Deep down, let's be honest, we know it's going to get cancelled.
I think it was that deep down, really, was it?
Well, no, it's kind of, just eating lunch sort of deep down. But yeah, well, I know it was going to get cancelled, so I didn't really give my hopes up for it. But, it is a shame, but,
Expect disappointment and you'll never be disappointed.
Exactly.
What about you,
Shoot
Carl?
for the floor, mate, not the stars.
Because then you can only overachieve.
Yay! What about you, Carl?
I pretty much said what I thought last week, but to reiterate, it's that it was bound to happen because I'll miss it. E3 was a good thing. It was good back in the day, but nowadays every independent platform, Sony, Microsoft, they all have their own sort of stage. They do.
Well, we spoke about it before, didn't we?
Yeah. So
the rumored Xbox E3 style announcement for this June, conference for this June, sorry, which is still allegedly rumored, but I think it's probably a surefire thing now, don't you reckon?
Yeah, and I mean even nowadays AAA titles basically get their own like mini showing. Sony does
like with Hogwarts.
but yeah, they do a full 20 minutes plus crew cast interview and everything. Staff interviews afterwards, and I think even like Call of Duty has its own like Call of Duty reveal kind of.
It does every year.
There's
the
no
only
point
difference
having a big thing now, is there? Because anyone can just whap up a camera in their own studio, and it saves a lot of money and effort. So it's like,
would, from a business point, I agree. I think you're right. From a fan point of view, I don't think that these piecemeal events are as impactful.
No,
for
not.
Me personally.
No, 100% they're not, because E3 was basically the main stage where all of the big brand people would come together and say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. Oh, yeah, well, we're doing this. And it'd be like the full showcase would be just hours of really good content about upcoming games you get excited for.
Exactly. And you can't have that discussion now, like, oh, who won E3 this year? You can't do that anymore. And you can't exactly say, oh, well, Microsoft had an announcement last August and Sony had an announcement in March. Who won? It doesn't work. You can't compare the two anymore because they're not connected intimately like they were at E3. It wasn't all on the same stage. And
I gotta go.
I'm really gonna
door real quick. You guys.
Okay.
Continue.
And we'll do. I'm really gonna miss E3.
It'll be back, Stu. It'll be back.
I hope so, but I don't know, because I don't know. I'm hopeful it'll come back because I literally used to just book holiday off work because obviously it's spread over the week, typically, and being in the UK as we are, the showings for E3 was like midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. So I'd book the week off work, stay up really late, get some snacks, pizza in, whatever, have some people over for a drink, and we'd watch E3 together. And those are the memories I have of E3. You know, having a semi house party, watching the conference all together, talking about the announcements, getting excited about the announcements, making predictions on the fly. And I
Yeah,
feel like I'm not going to get that
yeah,
opportunity again now. What about
was
you?
good days. But
Yeah.
you ain't gonna get that anymore unless they bring out a new, or unless E3 comes back, or they bring out a new sort of show like that.
Mm. But I think to your point, and I think you are right, it doesn't make good business sense anymore, does it, to pay E3 the
Pay
fee to
somebody
turn
else
up?
to show their thing when they could just do it themselves and save money.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to that, we'll wait for Carl to get back. But have you got any specific E3 memories that stick out for you?
I think it was. Oh, it must have been a good few years ago now. Obviously, being an old man that we all are. Yeah, going around my friends and staying up late to watch the release of. I think it was. Must have been a new wrestling game or something.
Mm.
And just sitting there with like cookie dough and junk food and stuff like that, just having a laugh, like whilst playing like Dynasty Warriors.
Ah, yes, the perfect, distraction game. Button
Yeah,
mashy. Oh, I love it, love it. Yeah, similar. I've had people around, and I remember it was the year that the Final Fantasy VII remake was finally officially announced.
Woohoo!
Hey, you're back.
Sorry, yeah, I'm back.
Good. Um, it was the year that the Final Fantasy VII remake was announced, and I had a couple of friends from uni over. I think I'd left uni by then. I can't even remember when I left uni, so I don't know. But we had drinks and pizza and whatnot, and oh no, we didn't have pizza. We had curry. I remember specifically it was a really fucking hot curry because I suffered in the morning. But when they announced Final Fantasy VII remake, I was the only Final Fantasy fan in the room, and I went absolutely fucking nuts. I couldn't believe it. I was ecstatic. As soon as well, you've played it, haven't you, Parky? When at the
yeah,
very beginning of the game, when it pans down, you got the Mako, however you want to pronounce it, like glowing and floating up, and then it pans over to the train. I knew what it was as soon as the camera started panning down, even though the screen was still black. I was like, oh my god, no way. No way, no way, no way, no
yeah.
way.
And everyone else sat in that house was like, "Where's the new FIFA?"
Yeah.
What about COD?
I absolutely lost my mind. It was amazing. That is my most memorable E3 moment. And Final Fantasy VII Remake definitely was not a disappointment to me. I fucking love that game. What about you, Carl? What's your best E3 memory? Can you remember anything? I remember us being in a group chat at the time when E3 was on, and we just all like back and forth about announcements and stuff. I can't remember what
Yeah.
E3 it was.
Was Kingdom Hearts 3 at an E3?
Oh, maybe, yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was.
that
That may well have
probably
been
would
the
have
one
been
we were in a group chat.
a big one for me anyway.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't really think of any. I mean, maybe we obviously looked at the Call of Duties at the time because that's what we were playing. I
Yeah.
imagine Destiny was probably on there back in the day, the first Destiny.
I think the original Destiny was announced at E3 because we were at Morrison's
Well,
at the time together.
yeah, you introduced me to Destiny, so maybe it
I
was the one of the expansions or Destiny 2, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I remember specifically. I remember exactly what aisle we were down, and we were filling up medicine, and I was
Sounds about
trying to
right.
convince you. Yeah, I was trying to convince you to join in on Destiny, and this was just as the Iron Lords DLC came out for the Destiny 1.
Yep.
Um, and you finally you caved in, you bought it, you joined in, and that was it. We were hooked for months, a year, consistently playing Destiny together with our group of friends, and what a time! What a time to be alive! How good was Destiny 1? And then Destiny 2 came out, and we were almost immediately disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It didn't start out very well.
Yeah.
It got
I hate
better.
to
But
burst
we,
this bubble, but what is Destiny?
get out.
It's fine. At the moment, you're well within your right to say that.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, yeah. Although Destiny 2 is apparently very good now, I just didn't have the patience to hang on. Coming from Destiny 1 and how good Destiny 1 was, Destiny 2 was a complete letdown for me. And you, Kyle, I know we were all disappointed. We all dropped it as soon as we tried the first raid, and we were like, "What is this?"
You know what they should do? Just release Division 3, innit?
They should definitely just release Division 3. But anyway, let's move on to, well, not move on. I want to know just quickly. Do you reckon the Summer Games Fest is just essentially replacing E3? So have either of you watched Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest?
I've not watched it, but I've sort
Yeah.
of seen bits and pieces.
Yeah.
It's just like a
He's
scaled
trying.
back E3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's trying, but I don't think it's not gonna replace it. It's just in the meantime.
Yeah,
In the meantime,
shows like
I
E3 will always have a place, but it just
I
won't
hope
ever
so.
be as big as E3. There will always be, that one slightly smaller one that comes
Mm.
like podcasts. There's the biggest ones on earth, and then there's people like us that just come along and like, yeah, we could do this for a few
Yeah,
weeks,
yeah.
and it
Have a
might
laugh.
gain a bit of
Have a laugh.
traction.
Yeah, and yeah,
There'll
yeah.
always be
You're
the
right. Yeah.
equivalent of that for like games fests. They still have like was it Game Expo maybe? I went to one in London once. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
like locally, we've got to us at least. We've got in Insomnia. That's
yeah,
a games convention that's coming up very soon.
yeah, exactly. And in a way, that's like E3 just without the whole
Yeah, that's
advertising
local
around it.
E3. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I like Summer Games Fest. I think the biggest criticism of it is that it's got so many adverts. Obviously, it doesn't have the financial backing of huge corporations, all paying to attend. But I think the first Summer Games Fest was awesome. Second Summer Games Fest, really good. Third, I think last year was the third Summer Games Fest, if I'm accurate, and it was 60% adverts, 40% games, and it sucked. It was so disappointing because you could have cut that conference. I think it was a 3 hour conference, and you could have cut it down to an hour if you just had the games. And that was really disappointing.
Yep,
So
like
I'm
most
hoping
TV
this
shows
year,
nowadays.
yeah, I'm hoping this year. I think we should probably all watch the Summer Games Fest in some capacity together this year because I think it'd be interesting, and it might, actually replace E3 for me, which has left a big hole in my heart. Um, Hopefully it'll be better this year. Hopefully you'll have taken Jeff Keighley specifically would have taken the criticism on board that there were just too many adverts and it was too corporate and it wasn't for the gamers, it was for the advertisers. But anyway, let's move on. So, oh, gotcha. Firesprite's developing a AAA horror game. Amazing.
Woo.
Firesprite was founded in 2012 by Graham Ankers, Lee Karras, Chris Roberts, Stuart Tilley, and Stuart Lovegrove. The studio was founded by the original Studio Liverpool team when it was still called Psygnosis, and the 5 people in the studio's core leadership team have worked on games for every PlayStation console. Psygnosis was most well known for the Wipeout series. Firesprite, a recent addition to Sony's first-party lineup, have confirmed that they are developing a AAA horror game using Unreal Engine 5. The news comes from a job listing for the studio for a position as narrative director. It's not yet known whether or not this will be a existing Sony IP or a brand new property. So what I want to ask both of you, we'll start with you, Parky. What are you hoping to see? Do you want a
I
new
mean,
IP? Do you want to see a return to one of Sony's own IP?
nah, I want a new one. Everyone wants new IPs now. Some of the old
Okay.
IPs are great, but I love the Unreal Engine. So they've got a lot of potential to bring out something really good.
And this is Unreal Engine 5, of course. This is the,
Exactly.
quote unquote next gen Unreal Engine.
So yeah, it's got massive opportunity to be something good. So I
Okay.
hope they don't chuck it away. Like,
Do you remember the Siren game? Because this is the, to be fair, this is the only Sony horror IP that I can think of off the top of my head. Siren Blood Curse was on PS3, I think, and it was the first episodic game to be released. Do you remember it?
never heard of it.
It's really. Do you remember it, Kyle? I don't know if you
No,
would.
not a clue.
It's really weird. It's like fully Japanese horror style. Um, you're this completely helpless individual.
Is this the one with the
Can't.
camera?
No,
No, that was
that
like
was.
PS1.
Oh, what was that? Fatal Frame.
Fatal Frame, yeah. So you got like the
Yeah.
Japanese demon or whatever chasing you around, and you got to take photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not this. This is you use this. It was called sight jacking in the game, and you essentially had the ability to take over the sight of the
Yeah, so you
threats
could see
around
the
you.
enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I
But you couldn't
remember.
kill anything. Everything was immortal, and your fighting power was very limited. So it was a true survival horror. Uh, I really liked it. It never went anywhere because I don't think many people played it, to be honest. I would like to see the return of Siren because I think they could make that game really well with today's tech. What about you, Carl? What do you reckon?
I mean, I personally, I'm not really a massive fan of horror games, but I did like Amnesia. Amnesia
Yeah.
series was good.
Yeah.
And I was a sort of early fan of Silent Hill. But
Mhm.
if something, Amnesia like could be replicated, I just think a horror game in Unreal Engine 5 would be probably give me a heart attack. So yeah,
Imagine if it had
That's fair.
the virtual attachment as well.
yeah,
Oh,
let's
in
slap it
VR.
in PSVR 2, and we'll put like a heart monitor on people as well.
Well,
If it
if the
hits a
heart monitor
certain thing,
stops
it cuts
working.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, yeah, fair enough. At least you're honest. Um, the next question was going to be, are we fans of the genre? Kyle, no. Parky, are you a fan of
Yeah,
horror games?
I'm a fan of horror games.
What's your
I'm
favorite?
a Resi fan.
Yeah.
I love the old school Resis. What was the one? There was one as well where basically what you did is if you got too scared, like your guy would start falling over and things like I think it was Fear maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a great series.
the kind of like horror shooter type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good. I like the classics, Silent Hill, incredible
Yeah.
series. I always remember playing Silent Hill 4, The Room, and that was my first experience with like a horror story that really, really gripped me. Because usually, I before then I found horror stories like really light, and it was just about the individual moments that scared me. Silent
Mm.
Hill 4 was the first horror game I'd played. The entire surrounding story was fascinating, but also terrifying. And bearing in mind, I was a young teenager at the time when this came out. I don't think Silent Hill 4 came out to like great critical reception, but I loved it, and I'd do anything to have Silent Hill back. This is why.
I like the antagonists of Silent Hills, like Pyramid Head, the weird
Yes,
nurses, man. They're such good characters. And they're hilarious
absolutely.
as well, some of the things Pyramid Head gets up to that.
This is why I'm like so. I don't believe for a second that the Silent Hill rumors are true. So the rumors that Sony have either acquired the license to the IP or have acquired the IP itself or are working with Konami. I don't believe it's true. I hope it's true because I would love a new Silent Hill game because my hopes were through the roof with that PT demo and then it got cancelled and I was shattered. 'Cause I was so looking forward to that.
That would be a good collaboration effort. You start off and it's just a standard Yu-Gi-Oh duel, but when you get sent to the Shadow Realm, you really do get sent to the Shadow Realm.
You get the what's it, Grim Reaper of the cards chasing you
Yeah,
around.
Reaper of the Cards. Guys, oh god, we're all entering weeb territory here. Hey.
Jeez.
Dear, you made me lose my place. So I don't know if either of you are particularly familiar with Fire Sprite. Obviously, we know now from my expertly crafted intro that this is the team from Studio Liverpool, the original team of Psygnosis that were behind the Wipeout series, the zero gravity
Yeah,
racing game.
that's so random. Wipeout. Imagine a Wipeout horror game like.
What would you class like? I suppose you could class like Twisted Metal as horror light, and that was a racing game.
Yeah, it was no Manhunt though.
No,
Good
that's
old
true.
Rockstar.
That's true. Do you think Kyle, kick it to you? Do you think Fire Sprite can pull this off? Do you think you know enough about Fire Sprite to have an opinion on it? I don't know.
Probably not, but I mean, if they're developing a so-called AAA horror game using Unreal Engine 5, at least it sounds like they know what they're doing.
Well, you can have all the tools and no clue, can't you?
Yeah,
So
but for horror games, I know it's probably going to sound really ignorant, but it isn't that difficult, really, is it? I mean,
I don't
the
know because
story doesn't have to be great. It just has to be a
As long
horror
as
game.
you've got the sort of mood set right.
I think there's a difference between what horror game you expect, because I don't think a game full of jump scares is a good horror game. It might be a scary game, but it's not a good horror game.
But that's
Like
essentially what
Resident Evil.
that's essentially what
Yeah.
Amnesia was, though. Amnesia was just a big sort of jump scare type game.
But there was an interesting story behind Amnesia. So there was a story, and
Yeah.
like the big reveal, and I know it's a really old game, but I still won't spoil it. The big reveal at the end of, or near the end of Amnesia, I was like, "Ooh, that's clever. I appreciate that." And yes, it was full of jump scares, but that reveal made it an overall good game because then all the pieces started fitting into place. Resident Evil 7's an excellent story and an excellent horror game.
I mean, all horror
But...
games aren't good, I suppose. Saw was an example of that. If you've ever seen the Saw games.
I think there's like, I don't class films with gratuitous violence
Yeah.
as horror.
Well, it's a horror
Although
game. I mean,
Saw was a great film series because if you follow them all the way through, you get the grips, and they're always thinking about the next film.
Yeah, that's
So the
true.
story
I
was
think,
actually decent. The game was
yeah,
just trying to cash in on what Saw was really.
but I mean, what
yeah.
other game will have you mashing the A button to dig through a toilet full of needles trying to find a key? I mean,
Or
quick time event
perform
horror game.
minor surgery on your own eye. Oh,
Yeah.
Dead Space.
Next
um,
Resident Evil game. Here we go.
I still haven't played Resident Evil 8. I need to. I'm getting sidetracked.
Yeah, let's get back to topic.
Parky. Do tell me. You think Fire Sprite can pull this off?
I've got faith in them. I mean, I don't know a lot about their group, but you got to give everyone a chance. If they mess it up, then we know better, don't we?
That's true.
I mean,
It's a bit weird.
they've got all the tools to make it a great game.
Yeah. What's the saying? No gear, all the gear, no idea.
That's the one.
That's what I'm concerned about, because we've gone from Wipeout to new studio, obviously. They developed Playroom games, so the things like Dystopian and whatnot. They developed VR games. I think they are developing the Horizon Forbidden West VR game. What's it called? Call of the Mountain. So for PSVR 2, I assume there'll be a VR game in the Horizon universe. Allegedly, they've got 3 projects on the go. So they've got this AAA horror game, the PSVR game for Horizon, and then another one. I'm not sure what that is though. I don't. really understand how they've gone from like a Sony associated studio that's relatively modest to a AAA horror slash VR slash etc. studio that can handle 3 projects all at once.
They got that Sony money.
They got that Sony sweet money.
Yeah.
I hope they can pull it off because I like the horror genre. I just want a good horror game. Like I said earlier, I don't think a game full of jump scares is a good horror game. I think it needs a good, interesting story. The story needs to be creepy, and then the game you play through needs to be. Well, to your point, Carl, I think it is more difficult to make a horror game than you think because you need to be able to instill tension, and you need to know. There's certain elements where you could build tension, then it amounts to nothing, so you end up in that false sense of security, and then something else builds up, and maybe that'll pay off, but oh, not quite, and then it gets you, and then oh, that's the horror moment.
But then at which point that's just a thriller, in my opinion. Like
Okay,
Alan Wake.
okay.
Would you say Alan Wake is a horror game?
No, but if you pushed Alan Wake beyond the boundary of what it goes, it could become a horror game.
Yeah, so it's just one of them. Horror is so broad. Like you've got horror
It is.
story and you've got horror jump scare. And I think to make a jump scare game is super easy. But to
Yeah,
actually have a good story behind it, that's difficult. So that's what
yeah.
it'll come
Like
down to is
Horror's so broad. All you need is a picture of a clown in the game somewhere, and it could be like Happy Go Funland. You know what I mean? And it's now a horror game because there's a random clown picture.
yeah, fair. All right, let's move on. So, Jim Ryan confirms that Sony has more studio acquisitions planned and elaborates on the opposite approach that PS Plus will be taking compared to Game Pass in respect of day and date first-party AAA titles. So, Andy Robertson of VGC, Video Game Chronicle, reports that PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, speaking on the latest PlayStation podcast, confirmed that Sony is working on further deals to buy developers. Quote, "We're in a really good place with PlayStation Studios, and have been for the past few years. The critical success and commercial success of the games that they've been making, that has given us permission to invest heavily in content creation." End quote. And that's Jim Ryan. Regarding day and date games on PS Plus, quote, Jim Ryan again, "The games that we're making are getting bigger, they're getting better, they're getting more beautiful, they're getting richer, the narrative is getting stronger. This is really great, and gamers tell us that this is what they really want from PlayStation. Now, I have to say, putting these games into a subscription service immediately upon their release would break this virtuous cycle, and we wouldn't be able to invest in the way that we're currently able to. So we're not doing it. We're going to stick with the approach that we have had, that we have, and has served us well under many years now." So, first of all, do we have any predictions again to what some of these acquisitions might be? Kyle?
I honestly couldn't guess. I mean, I think maybe Konami might be on the cards. I don't think Sega's going to be up there because that's just too far, out of Sony's realm for sort of what would be the
You
point.
think it's going to be something that big? I mean, the last acquisition was Haven, who we spoke about last week and haven't even released a game yet.
I mean, a Paradox still free? Paradox?
I have no idea. I have no idea. You carry on talking and I'll find out.
I mean,
Paradox Interactive.
Paradox would be.
Yeah, I don't think they've been bought out by a big company yet. I think they might still be maybe not free, but
I mean, yeah, they seem to still be
their own thing.
independent.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe Paradox. Maybe they've got some good IPs that could be brought back. I mean, I think a lot of Paradox's stuff is it strategy? They got quite a few strategy games.
Yeah, it's like RTS games, Crusader Kings, City Skyline.
Yeah, but some of them are on the PlayStation, so you never know.
Yeah, that's an interesting input. I'd never even considered them, to be fair.
You got to think, if you look at the company's recent ones, they got a PC port specialist as well, the Nix's software.
Yeah, that's true.
So you know, they might branch out and do more stuff for hardware more than, you know, actual just games themselves. Because they've got a lot of decent companies now, like Bungie, Bluepoint, Returnal, Housemarque,
Mm-hmm.
and now Fire Sprite as well, plus Haven. They've
Yep.
got a lot of companies that can produce really good games, but
I mean,
they
let's
need to
not
make sure
forget,
they've
like,
got the hardware for it, right?
absolutely, yeah. Don't forget, like, all of the longer members of the families, like, or the older members, should I say, like Insomniac, you know,
Insomniac Games, yeah.
huge studio. Spider-Man 2 to be soon released, not soon released. It will be released eventually.
Ratchet and Clank.
Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, Wolverine game. We haven't had a chance to speak about on this podcast because it was announced beforehand. I don't know how Insomniac does it. You know, you've got Bend, Carl's favorite game ever, Days Gone. It's Days Gone, Days Gone. Jeff Ross, interestingly, Jeff Ross was one of I think he was the director behind Days Gone. He's recently joined Crystal Dynamics within the last few days, I think. So that'll be interesting to see what they come up with. I don't know. I wonder whether he'll be working on the Perfect Dark game.
No, that would be something I want to see.
Might actually convince me to buy an Xbox. But anyway, I have no idea who they might acquire. Deviation Games is I assumed that Deviation Games was already a first party studio, but apparently they're not. But if you look at their profile on Twitter, they've just finished kitting out their office, and they've got an entire wall like stenciled with PS5 controllers. So I'd be very surprised if Deviation Games weren't the next acquisition. Thinking about it, because if
But they
you
asked the painter to do Xbox controllers, but he got the wrong one.
well, they're making. I think they're currently making a live service game for PlayStation, which is why I assumed they were already first party, but apparently not. So maybe they'll be next on the list. Who knows? We'll see. Other than that, I have no idea because I never saw Haven Games coming. I never saw Bungie coming. I think it's entirely redundant of me to try and guess who they're going to buy next, unless it's From Software. That'd
That
be
would be
interesting.
joyous.
Maybe that would signal the return of Bloodborne. I really liked Bloodborne. Really, really liked Bloodborne. Quickly, Arky, Kyle, did either of you play Bloodborne?
Yeah, I preferred the
Yeah.
style of Bloodborne more than the normal games.
Yeah,
Bloodborne
I agree.
was good fun.
It was. Did you play it, Kyle?
No, I've never played it, but I've watched many like sort of run-throughs and gameplay footage and stuff of it. So
Yeah. Okay, so you're familiar with it.
yeah, like shooting the parry and stuff like that.
Yeah. If Bloodborne were to return, bearing in mind it's a Sony IP, not a From Software IP, but From Software did obviously develop the game. Do you think that it would benefit from the Elden Ring treatment, as in open world, or would you prefer to see classic Bloodborne formula? So, narrow corridors, straight line story. Just quickly.
From what I've seen online of people that really love Bloodborne, they just want a remake.
Yeah, you
one of
can't mess with something like that and then change it too much because the amount of people who just kick out would be insane.
Well, yeah,
Even if it does end up being better, for the originals, they just won't enjoy it.
I would agree. I'd say that Bloodborne 2, if it is coming, needs to be the same premise as the first one because we have Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And I think Elden Ring is the new open world IP.
Yep.
If they've finished Dark Souls, so be it. We've had 3 of those. They were all... No, they weren't. Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 were excellent. Demon Souls was also excellent. The remake of Demon Souls was excellent. Bloodborne was excellent. But they have their own styles.
Give it the Souls treatment, basically, is what it needs.
Yeah.
It needs sort of a Bloodborne 2 or a Bloodborne 3, and just kind of use the
Yeah.
core gameplay elements and just create a
Yeah.
new world, essentially.
Yeah. So Elden Ring is the open world Souls game, and it should stay like that. They don't all need to become open world now.
No.
Is essentially what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So anyway, how do we feel about the day and date approach for PS Plus? Do you think that they should be offering day and date games? Do you think some games might be day and date, just not the first party AAA studio games? Or do we think they've got the right idea and that Game Pass really isn't sustainable?
They've got the
Kyle,
right
kick
idea.
us off.
Sony don't
Yeah,
have the money to do it.
yeah,
Well, I
I
mean,
agree.
obviously Microsoft, Xbox have got a bajillion amount of
Just all the money.
infinite
All the
money,
money.
so they can
Yeah.
afford to just kind of go the whole. We just want more people on our service than anywhere else, even if we're making a
Mm,
loss. In the
yeah.
future, more people are going to be loyal to the brand, and so it's very much it's how businesses start. Any new company will sell
Mm,
their stuff for a loss first to get people interested, and then they'll put
yeah.
up the price later on. But I think PlayStation have never said from the get-go that, oh, this is our competitor to Game Pass. They've always announced it, but they've never said it's a direct competitor.
True.
So I think what they're doing is fine. I mean, it's other people that have raised expectations, saying, "Oh, PlayStation's going to come out with a rival to Game Pass," or "Oh, it's going to be better."
Yeah.
Sony never said that.
I think quite interestingly as well that Jim Ryan's justification was that our, not our, Sony's games are a high enough quality to justify selling them full price. Do you agree with that position?
Yeah, I'd agree with it. I mean, just in terms of first-party games alone, like
Yeah.
there's maybe 2 games that I'd like to play if I had an Xbox, whereas
hmm
on the PlayStation there's loads that I've played that have been first-party exclusive.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's very true. What do you reckon, Parky? Just specifically on the point whether the quality of the games justify the full retail price, do you agree with that?
Mm. Well, I mean, yes and no. Like, you don't want shoddy games coming out at full retail when they're not really worth that. They should be cut in half at least. It'd be like £10 on release if you know that it's not that good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
So,
just because it's a new game doesn't mean you have to spend 70 quid to get it. Like, you know what I mean?
okay,
I
okay.
suppose the upside
But
is you can always buy it at a discounted price later on. It's
Yeah.
not a Nintendo game where it'll always be a flat, it'll never drop below £30, and
Yeah,
it'll
true.
very rarely
yeah,
drop below like 55. A lot of PlayStation games, if you want to play it and you're not keen to play it on day one, if you can wait, 6 months or so, you will find it drops sort of £10, £20.
quite quick. Yeah,
And it may even come to PS Plus.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I agree on the quality point with you, Kyle, in the sense that I don't think Microsoft. I think Microsoft make good games. Like, I know I bash Halo Infinite a lot, but that's only because of the state it released. But it's a good game. Like, people have fun. A friend of mine is vehemently an Xbox fanboy. He is like borderline toxic fanboy, but it's all good fun. He loves Halo Infinite, despite its shortcomings. So it's Microsoft make good games. Forza, not my cup of tea, but I think it's clear that Forza is at the moment better than Gran Turismo 7.
Yeah, Forza is the
Like,
racing game. If you want
it
a
is
good,
now the king of racing games.
yeah,
And with Motorsport 8 round the corner, so the non-open world variant of Forza, I imagine that will just grind Gran Turismo further into the dust than it already is, and that's disastrous for Sony because Gran Turismo spent generation after generation on top, and this time they've really fucked it up. Um, but it is what it is. I don't think Microsoft make PlayStation quality games, which is why I've never been compelled to buy an Xbox.
yeah.
And now I feel as though, because of Game Pass specifically, I never need to buy an Xbox because I could just I can literally sign up for Game Pass on my phone and stream it. And yeah, it's going to be shitty, but then I don't have to go and buy a 500 quid box.
Yeah, you could just buy a controller.
That might overheat and break.
So I think PlayStation's approach to PS Plus is justified by virtue of the fact that the first party games are such good quality. And this is my prediction, and I'm going to make this now, and I want you to remember it, because I definitely want to say that I called it if this transpires. We've got 10 first-party live service games in development that we know of at the moment across the PlayStation studios. I don't think that first-party AAA titles will be day and date on PlayStation Plus service, with the exception of the live service games. I think the live service games will be day and date because obviously live services benefit from larger player bases, and live services, as you'd expect, have microtransactions. So I think that it would be a better business move to include those games day and date on your subscription service to, one, pull in more people to the higher tiers of subscription, and two, ensure the longevity of those live service games that you're releasing.
Yeah, that is a very good point actually, is that you could just, like, for Microsoft, if most of their games are, multiplayer or online or live service, if you introduce microtransactions, that's a way of making your money back that you lost on having it in Game Pass in the first place.
Yeah, which is why Halo Infinite has so many cosmetic microtransactions, which is fine, cosmetics, whatever.
Yeah.
Forza has microtransactions, but it is actually a better racing game than Gran Turismo, so it's more forgivable. I think the typical single player heavy story narrative games will not be day and date because they are high quality. If we see a dip in investment in them, then the quality will dip, and I don't want that, because the reason I bought a PlayStation is because I like those games. If I liked racers and multiplayer shooters, I do like them. They're not my preference. I play them with you guys because I like the social aspect of it. If I really like those games, I'd have an Xbox instead. So I think the quality justifies not having them day and date. And that's not to say that third-party games won't be day and date. Let's not forget that recently, is it Ninja Warrior 3? No, what was that game? Oh, Ninja Warrior, wasn't it? No.
Ninja
Oh,
Warrior is the jumping across obstacles.
yeah, not that. Shit, what's it called? Um, It's like the first-person samurai sword / guns. Oh God.
House of the Dead.
Yeah.
No. PlayStation. I'm gonna Google this on the fly. PlayStation Now day and date game. What was it? Tell me. Tell me. God damn it.
You know about the one where you're running along the walls and stuff?
No. It's. I think I've got it. Have I got it? Oh, fuck off. What are you called? Shadow Warrior 3. There we go. Shadow Warrior 3 came to PlayStation Now on the day of release. That's a third-party game. It came to the subscription service day and date. So third-party games might be coming, just not first-party games.
Which is fine.
And arguably, there's only two. Is there two? Two AAA first-party games on Game Pass, which is Halo and Forza, and the rest are AA or lesser-known AAA because I can't think of them. And then all of the rest are third-party or timed exclusives.
Get famous games such as Anthem, which was obviously an amazing game from the get-go.
Yeah. So no, it's not a Game Pass competitor, but it has a larger library and arguably if it includes older PlayStation first-party titles, better quality one.
Yeah.
I'll say tentatively.
No. Yeah. Fine. Agree
Yeah.
with that.
Interestingly, as well, I thought about this today. You know the PS Plus collection that we've lauded over before and said how great it is. What
Mhm.
happens to that? Because surely all those games will be available on the PS Now service or the PS Plus service when it merges.
Well, I suppose
Do you think?
they'll still
Do you
be
think it will
available.
exist?
Yeah, I don't think they'll change that. I think they'll just keep adding to it.
They'll
So
put
would
it in.
that be just for people who don't up their tier?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it'll be
yeah.
available as a just integrated into the PS Plus library.
Yeah, maybe like a taster. Like, ooh, look, you could have more.
You
Yeah.
could have this.
Interestingly, as well, I'll add to this. We're seeing the first departure from the PlayStation Plus collection. Do you know which game it is?
God of War.
No,
Ratchet and Clank.
Um,
no,
Days Gone.
it's not first party.
It's not first party. I don't really remember what else was in there, to be honest with you.
Let's play a game. Parky really likes this game.
let's play a game. So,
No, it's Persona 5. It's leaving the collection.
Oh, what
no
a
way.
shame.
Hey, Persona 5 is a fucking masterpiece. Get back.
I
You
mean,
sit down right now, Kurt.
I'm literally sitting, I'm sitting on the final place. I still haven't finished it, but I'm right
It's
there.
incredible. It's incredible. But you got the Royale edition, haven't you?
Yeah, so there's like another term or something afterwards.
Yeah, I think you're past the ending I experienced. Because I
Yeah.
only played the original, and I put 500 hours into the original. There was no way in hell I was going to start the game again to experience a different ending and different bits in between. It was
That's-
awesome. It was so good. One of the best JRPGs out there. But I could not invest another 500 hours for, say, 10 hours worth of new content. Or maybe more, I don't know. But you know what I mean.
On that
Um,
note, I think we should shimmy on over to the next one.
yeah, we're getting,
absolutely.
we have
This is a
3
fairly
minutes.
quick one. Yes. This is a fairly quick one. Fortnite Zero Build. Arguably, Fortnite's defining feature has been removed, temporarily at least, paving the way for gunplay to reign supreme in Epic Games' popular Battle Royale.
Yay, COD with extra
Yay!
colors.
Yay, third-person COD.
No, it's more like Halo, but with cartoony characters because
I
they
mean,
jump really high, don't they?
Wasn't it
Yeah.
done as an April Fool's joke and they realised that people actually liked it?
I have no idea.
I think so.
What do you reckon? I have no idea.
It's so random.
Does it entice you to play it at all?
It's probably been too long gone. If it would have been removed after like a year, I might have played it. But
Yeah.
it's
I mean, I
like,
think I said before, the only thing stopping me from playing Fortnite is the building element.
yeah,
Now they've removed it temporarily, I've very quickly realised that it's not. I just don't want to play it.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
I
they've
mean,
added so much
there's,
stuff since.
there's a whole thing about, if you don't have a skin or whatever, people gang up and try to kill you straight away. And it's that sort of like, yeah, I know it's hilariously bad,
Children.
but it's that sort of thing. Oh, you ain't got a skin. Let's all just gang up and not kill each other, but kill this dude. It's like, well, it kind of takes away the letting new players try stuff thing. So new players are just going to go on there and absolutely hate it because they're just getting destroyed from everywhere.
Let's not forget that the audience for Fortnite are 10-year-olds and Ninja. So,
Who is arguably just a 10-year-old anyway.
yeah, a very
A very
rich,
rich 10-year-old, yeah.
with very nice hair. Wish I had hair like that.
Pink.
Right.
Yeah,
I
anyway.
don't. Is there anything
Quick
else we
news
want to say
points.
about Fortnite?
No.
No, good. Okay,
No.
quick news points. I'll just blast through these. First point. Sony Interactive Entertainment could be working to bring PlayStation 3 games to PlayStation 5 without the requirement to stream them over the internet. That's according to VentureBeat journalist Jeff Grubb, whose sources have reportedly indicated that Sony could be working on an emulation solution for the PS3 games on PS5. Now, that's particularly interesting because we mentioned briefly last week, well, not briefly, we went into detail, that PS3 games will only be available to stream through PS Plus. which may incentivize me to go up another tier. Maybe, I don't know. What do you reckon, Kyle? Very quickly.
I think all the babies complained enough to the point where Sony were like, okay, we have to do something now then.
I don't think that's
there are some
fair.
absolute gems on PS3 though. Let's be
There are
honest.
some absolute gems. And how are we in an age of technology where the PS3 cannot be emulated on the PS5?
Because it was
How?
written with a totally different framework that was like way too
Yeah,
advanced.
the PS3 had the cell processor, which was a terrible decision in hindsight. But you cannot tell me that there is no way to do this. How have Sony not figured this out?
Well,
If
it's
this
just
was Microsoft, they would have figured it out years ago,
it's going to be
to
money
be
though, isn't
honest.
it? At the end of the day, it's going to be like
Yeah.
trying to get something from Adobe Flash to translate into Unreal Engine 5. Just the
Yeah.
code and everything is entirely different, so you'd have to go through piece by piece to
But
essentially
there are
rebuild it.
there are amateur emulators that don't particularly work very well, available online, not technically legally, but there is. I don't understand how Sony haven't figured this out. I don't understand how, because technology companies do this all the time. They put out a bounty for, tech geniuses they say, we've got this problem. If you figure it out, we'll pay you X million. And then a load of companies or a load of individuals that have the know-how get together, try and figure it out, and then claim the bounty. Microsoft do it, Apple do it, Steam does it. Sony have done it in the past for other problems. Why are they not doing it for this? Say, we don't want to invest our time and money in this. So, well, technically they will invest their money. We don't want to invest our time in this and resources. Someone fix this for us and we will pay you.
I think it's just gone too
And
far down the line. Where they could have done that at the start, but now they're sort of stubborn and they haven't just put too much thought to it. They were like, people will get over it
Well,
eventually.
that stubborn
yeah.
cousin, like, you know what I mean? It's like, I will do it. I will.
I'll get to it. I'll get to it. It's like me with the garden. Like I'm supposed to put a fence in, but I'll do it. I will do it. Just not yet.
That was
'Cause
4 months ago.
It was last summer. My argument is it's not warm enough yet. I'm waiting for the summer again. A good 12
Okay.
months. I've had to plan this, and all I need to do is put a fence post in. But
Either
never
way.
mind. Either way, let's move on.
Yeah.
Horizon Forbidden West has been updated to allow you to turn off animations for Aloy picking up items, and I swear to Christ, I would have loved this during my playthrough because, quite honestly, I ran low on some resources purely because I couldn't be asked to watch the animation for her picking them up. So if either of you two do finally get to Forbidden West, I'd recommend, I don't know, playing an hour or two with everything turned on, and then turn off the pickup animation. And for God's sake, remember, I keep forgetting to say this, you can turn off the loading screens. Turn them off. You don't need the loading screens. They are on by default so you can read tips, and that's dumb.
Really? Is that a thing?
Yep. Yep, you can turn off the loading screens. The reason is, for the SSD, obviously, it loads so fast that Gorilla couldn't figure out where to put the tip screens in. So all they did was default to a fake loading screen to give you a chance to read the tips, and then it just transitions into the game. In the accessibility options, it's got turn off loading screens, or they say turn off tip screens.
Nice.
So if you turn it off, there are no loading screens whatsoever in the game. Really weird. I kept meaning to mention that to you both, but I keep forgetting.
Well, noted.
So yeah, turn off animations, turn off the loading screens. Next, PlayStation job listings indicate they plan on expanding into the Chinese gaming market and intend to bring more Chinese games to the Western audience. Now this is interesting. I know I've bashed about Tencent, but Tencent is different. That's associated with who they are associated with. The Chinese gaming market could be incredibly interesting. I mean, we spoke briefly about what was that game with the Monkey King developed on Unreal Engine 5.
Dark Wukong or Black Wukong.
That's it, yeah. That looks exceptional.
It does. It really does.
And that type of mythology, I think, would be. I really love that kind of mythology. And
it'd be
Dynasty
seeing like
Warriors,
the
obviously.
proper the Chinese side of how they see it as well.
Exactly.
It'd
I
be
would
coming
love
over
that.
to us like pure
Yeah.
pure myth.
Yeah, we've been spoiled with like Japanese culture because obviously there's a very open Japanese market coming to the West with all the JRPGs and Ghost of Tsushima as well, which is received so well in Japan. I would love more Chinese influence in games. Yes, we've got Dynasty Warriors, but that's like Hollywood China. Yeah, it's based on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but it's very much Americanized. Um, as much as I love Dynasty Warriors, I want like an authentic cultural style of Chinese game.
So what you
So
want to play then is Legend of K.
I wanna have like a gods, like a Chinese gods and mythical people, like sort of battle royale type thing. I reckon that would be really good.
Again,
That would be
Legends
cool.
of K. If you play as a cat, you have to fight rats, and you have to fight like was it monkeys, gorillas?
Sure, why not? All right, okay. Um, I've been very much looking forward to speaking to you both about this. Will Smith is invading people's Elden Ring games, slapping them, and then leaving.
Yeah, this is funny. If this is genuinely Will Smith, it would be even better.
Yeah,
Imagine.
But
trying to get his anger out.
yeah,
So, if people aren't familiar with the Elden Ring format, other players can invade your game and attempt to kill you normally. They appear as like a red spirit and they come after you. But some guy had the genius idea to create a character, name the character Will Smith, and then just start invading people's games completely unarmed. Now, normally when people invade you, you're like, shit, high defense, you're very wary. But this dude rocks in with no weapons, so people are obviously puzzled. And then he walks up to him, slaps him, and then just leaves.
sometimes you will see
Genius.
him spin round and yell. But
This is probably my favorite news story that's come out this year. Love it. And I kind of really want Will Smith to slap me now in Elden Ring.
in real life too,
In real life, please. Um, yeah. What was next? What was next? What was
Scoop.
next? Scoop! Oh my God, I have a world exclusive scoop. And it was definitely by accident. So I'm not going to name who he was, but this is the guy I mentioned last time, the friend of mine that is an actual developer. He's an artist for a studio called Unknown Worlds, and he just put it out there asking if people wanted to join him for a new sci-fi IP or game in the Subnautica universe. I don't know if either of you played Subnautica. Very good.
I've never played it, but
Very much a
I
chill
know what it's
game.
about.
So I think he's accidentally revealed there, or maybe intentionally, I don't know, that there is a new Subnautica game, or at least a game in the Subnautica universe being developed alongside a new sci-fi IP. So that's from Unknown Worlds, the developer. I don't think it's classed as an indie dev, but maybe it is. But they make very good games. So Scoop, new Subnautica game.
Ghost Recon.
Thought Ghost Recon.
Mm.
If you bought NFTs for this game, well, you're shit out of luck because they are shutting it down. I was gonna read the quote, but there's not really any point. It just says what it is. They're shutting down Ghost Recon Breakpoint. If you bought any NFTs, offload them now to someone that hasn't realized the game's shutting down, and then it'll be rendered completely worthless. But if you have bought NFTs, then you're probably too stupid to realize that, and you're gonna lose all your money. So sorry.
whoops.
Whoops. Last news point, I think. Are we on the last news
Yep.
point? Yes, we are. New figures released by Twitter show that Sony's acquisition of Bungie generated more discussion than Microsoft's acquisition of Activision. Interestingly, even though arguably the Activision deal was like earth-shattering, I think Bungie being who they are, an ex-Xbox studio, might be the reason that it generated more buzz. I don't know. We don't know the specifics, only that, according to Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I believe that because
According to Twitter.
According to Twitter. Yeah. Interesting though. Very interesting. Okay. Well, that's it. Next up, we've got the game releases for the week beginning of the 4th. So, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga comes out on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, Switch on April 5th. So that was 2 days ago. We spoke about Traveller's Tales a few weeks ago. Are either you going to pick this up? I think, Carl, you expressed a bit of an interest in this, didn't you?
What, in Lego games?
I don't know. I thought you said that
No.
the Skywalker Saga was interesting. Okay, maybe
No,
not. No,
as I
no.
said, there hasn't been a good sort of Lego game since the originals when they used to actually make their own games.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
Like
point.
Lego
Okay, forget
Racers
that.
and Lego Island and Lego Rock Raiders back in the day.
That's it. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. So that's a no. You won't be
Yeah,
picking this.
no.
What
I'm good,
about
thanks.
you, Parky?
I might just buy it for when my niece or nephew come round.
Yeah,
They could get
fair
all the
enough.
trophies for me, you know.
Yeah. Child labour.
I, this Star Wars game it includes all of the Star Wars, all of the Star Wars,
So the originals, the mids,
the
and
prequels, and I
yeah,
cannot imagine anything worse than a Lego game with even more collectibles and puzzles and levels that I just can't figure out because I am a functioning adult, and I think that's the problem. Because I don't think functioning adults can figure out these puzzles because they don't require adult level logic. They require random, sporadic, hyperactive child thinking. Like, oh shit, yes, if I do knock this lamppost over, of course I can make a crane to lift a teddy out of a volcano that will then turn into an ice cream machine and take me to the next level. Great.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
How
there's
can
no
you
way.
not get
Clearly, I'm stupid.
that?
Clearly. Next up, Chrono Cross: A Radical Dream. As I mentioned this earlier, really look forward to this when I get around to it. That comes out today. Either of you picking this up?
No.
I might grab it eventually, but the price ain't gonna drop on it because it's on the Switch. So
It's
no.
also on
Anyway.
the PlayStation. I just left it off the list.
I see. Okay.
There's a
Well, I might
PS4
eventually
version.
pick it up, but
Yeah,
Too much
I
yeah,
to
think it's
play.
PS4 version, not PS5. There is too much to play. There is, so it will be low on the list. But I do want to get around to it because I missed out Chrono Cross when it first came out because I was a poor child. Well, I wasn't a poor child. I was just a child. I didn't have any money.
Yep.
Demio comes to PC because it's called the PC edition. Shock horror. April 7th. That's today. Green Hell VR comes out for the Quest today. Slipstream, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch. That comes out today, which is April 7th. I've dated the episode. God damn it. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, clever name, comes out for the Switch April 8th. Dream Vibe PC comes out April 8th, and that is it for the game releases for this week up until Sunday.
Nice.
Closing comments? Anything to say? Anything you want to get off your chest? Any frustrations?
I'm gonna go kill this tree sentinel. Screw everyone.
Good luck. Where you, Carl? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I've been having background thoughts in my head about when I finish Elden Ring, I might pick up Kingdom Hearts 3 and do another playthrough. But
Oh God,
I'll send you my copy if you want.
have you not already? Have you not already finished Kingdom Hearts 3?
yeah, I finished it and platinumed it, but I feel like I just went through the entire game just trying to get the platinum, so I might just go back and try and
I think
enjoy
I
it.
still got to do collectibles on it, but
Yeah, I don't foresee myself ever returning to that game. I enjoyed it, but it was definitely the worst Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I want an option to turn off the fairground ride attacks because I hate them.
yeah.
They
I
do
hate them
I would
all.
say
become
it was the most stunning visually,
Oh,
but
definitely, yeah.
story driven Kingdom
Not
Hearts
so
2 I
much.
think was a lot better.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 is far superior. Best in the series, including all the weird spin-off shit on the DS and whatnot, and
Yeah.
the game drive and whatever the fuck else they released it
Well,
on mobile.
I've got the HD 2.5 version, so it's all the
Yeah,
games.
so yeah, I've got that as well. I just don't. think Kingdom Hearts 3 was. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was great.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was one of those where the gameplay was kind of good, but the story let it down.
Yes, definitely. Even as convoluted as the story is, it was a letdown. And the fairground ride. I cannot express how much I hate them things. I refuse to use them every time they pop up. Because they take too long, they're clumsy, and overpowered.
Half the time you don't even hit anything with them anyway.
Yeah, but when you do hit it, you fucking eradicate everything. I mean, it's like there's the pirate ship thing. If you trigger that next to a boss, you will kill the boss. You will kill the boss
Yeah, basically.
every time.
Yeah.
They are way. I think that's probably my criticism. Even playing it on the hardest difficulty, it was way too easy.
Yeah,
I remember
late,
the days
game,
of
you didn't
Kingdom
even
Hearts.
need them. You didn't need
No.
the fairground rides.
No, you didn't.
Pointless.
You could just hit something and they'd explode.
Yeah.
Even on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah.
You could beat the super secret boss without the ultimate keyblade, which is ridiculous. My son, who at the time was 6, I want to say, beat the secret boss with the Winnie the Pooh keyblade. So
You could also
either,
cheese him as well by doing a jump attack.
yeah,
Jump attack all the way around.
you
He
don't,
does
you
nothing but look at you.
if a 6-year-old can beat it without any mind for tactics whatsoever, with the Winnie the Pooh keyblade, which is one of the shortest keyblades in the game. I don't think the boss was hard enough. Especially when you remember Kingdom Hearts 1 had that fucking Grim Reaper thing.
That you had to stop the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the multi-armed snake sword thing in the Aladdin world.
Yeah, that was cool.
They were hard secret. They were good secret bosses. They were like Emerald Weapon, Final Fantasy VII secret bosses. Yeah. This is not it. The secret boss is incredibly disappointing.
Kingdom Hearts 2 had all the clones, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah. Sephiroth. Where was Sephiroth?
Yeah, Sephiroth and Hercules Olympian things.
Yep.
I think the secret boss in this was it Ventus, maybe?
No, it was that
Terra?
weird Heartless on the fucking roller skate legs
I thought there was
in
another
the
one.
Keyblade graveyard.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
There was the DLC where you fight the
No,
Organization
it was in the base game,
13.
I think it was a secret boss. One of them was
Terra,
one of
I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think it was
The
Terra.
original Keyblade user in the armor.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, yeah, you are right, yeah. But again, too easy.
Yeah.
Too easy. Even hard mode, far too easy. Very disappointing. But yeah,
Well,
got the platinum. Still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've got no closing comments because I've just made them all.
Yeah.
So thanks once again for joining me. It's been a pleasure. It's been very interesting. I hope that Hideo Kojima reveals that he is behind Abandon, because then everything will make sense just by default. And I hope you beat the tree Sentinel, Parky.
Oh man, I'm gonna be on for hours. I can feel it already.
I mean, I may even come and join you.
I was gonna say I've been playing this whole time on remote play from upstairs off a tablet.
I've just been hiding around the corner and letting people invade.
Impressive.
So I will head
I'm
over
surprised
to
you
you now
haven't
and you
raged.
can summon me.
Cracking.
Decent.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, gents. See you later.
Thank you and good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.